Hi, everyone. I'm Paula Reed.
And I'm Kenneth Craig. Thanks for joining us. Hurricane Dorian is making its way toward the mainland U.S. after slamming the Bahamas. The island's prime minister said the hurricane caused unprecedented devastation. Roofs were ripped off, cars were damaged, and power lines were torn down. Local reports say a young boy drowned on the island of Abaco due to the storm.
Here's a look right now at Dorian. It's nearing Florida's east coast, but most models have it hugging the coastline and then moving north. We turn now to CBS News weather producer David Parkinson. All right, David, what's the latest on this storm's path?
Well, we have a new update from the Hurricane Center, and it's good news for some folks in Florida. But right now, as you take a look at the radar, here are the outer bands of Dorian, and you can see they've made it all the way to Fort Myers. It's got a wider eye now that we're noticing. We're also seeing it's a little bit weaker looking, a little less organized. But look, it is still a Category 4 storm. It's still got 145-mile-an-hour winds, and it is not moving at all. It's stationary. Still 110 miles east of West Palm Beach. But here's the interesting thing. We now have hurricane warnings to just shy of Jacksonville. Those are hurricane watches, and they extend to Charleston, South Carolina. So this is really widening out and expands. So one other thing I want to point out here, here is your storm. This is the feature that we're waiting on right here to help tug it north. Until it does that, and that's going to be sometime tomorrow, this thing is not moving. So Tuesday at 2 p.m., it is just even with Stewart. It has barely moved by tomorrow afternoon. By tomorrow at 2 a.m., it's really not moved at all. So we've got another 12 hours at least of it sitting over the Bahamas. Then by Wednesday morning, it's even with Cape Canaveral in the early morning hours. By the afternoon, it's just off of St. Augustine, still a Category 3 with 120-mile-an-hour winds, and then 110-mile-an-hour winds as it passes Charleston sometime during the day on Thursday, and then it's up past the Outer Banks by Friday. So it gets on its horse and moves, but not until later on in this cycle. So that's the one thing we need to know. Tuesday afternoon, you can see here, we're definitely in a better situation. We've cleared now from the cone of concern everyone from Melbourne south. There's not going to be a landfall. However, it's going to be close enough that you have tropical storm force winds probably from down near Pompano Beach probably all the way up through Cape Canaveral. By the time you get to your Wednesday overnight hours and your Wednesday morning hours, the strongest winds are now just offshore Jacksonville, but the tropical storm force winds still extend well south of Melbourne. And then as we get into your Thursday overnight hours, things get way worse in Charleston. You've got winds that are gusting over 70 miles an hour, and then the storm finally lifts north with Myrtle Beach on Thursday morning, seeing some of the strongest winds. That is where the center of the storm is right there with the hurricane force winds. It would take just about a 20 or 30 mile shift to get those hurricane force winds on shore. So it wouldn't take a whole lot to get that shift. That's why we're still watching the cone of concern, as the error further out in the process is quite considerable. So when we talk about the potential for rainfall here, we are keeping it well offshore, but there's a whole lot of rain just offshore. You can see, though, some of the deeper bands here, the foot of rain coming along the Charleston to Wilmington area, and then Jacksonville to Melbourne. Yeah, that's still a half a foot of rain. But again, if this shifts just 20 miles, you've got a serious rain situation there. Storm surge also a concern here, 4 to 7 feet. We'll get the numbers further up the coast, not that long from now, probably in the next advisory. But if you're along the coast of Florida, south of Cape Canaveral, this is undoubtedly good news for you. North of there, you not only still have to watch for a potential landfall, though the chances are much lower, you also have to watch for some really serious wind and storm surge coming up over the next several high tide cycles. So this storm is far from over. In fact, it's not going to move for another 12 hours.
Wow, another 12 hours. All right, David, I know you'll continue to keep us up to date on this. Thank you so much.
Sure thing.